June 29, 2017 was just a regular morning like any other. And like most people, 23-year-old Molly McLaren started her day by hitting the gym. However, she was followed by her ex-boyfriend Joshua Stimpson, who ensured that he was the last person that Molly would ever see again. Molly McLaren was born on June 26, 1994 in Cobham, South Kent, England. Her parents, Joanne and Douglas McLaren, characterized her as a cheerful, charming, and kind-hearted girl. Molly had battled bulimia and anxiety her whole childhood. She worked on herself and used self-love and positive thinking to get herself out of that situation. Molly made the decision to stay on the path of health in 2015, so she enrolled at the University of Kent for a degree in exercise, sport, and health education. She joined social and athletic clubs and frequently went out with her university friends. Molly launched her own fitness blog as well. She made the decision to move forward with her life as 2016 drew near and she felt prepared to meet someone. She downloaded Tinder at that point and began looking for potential life partners. And it was in this search that 26-year-old Joshua Stimpson matched with Molly. Josh was born and raised in Stock-on-Trent before moving to Woodham. He experienced mental health issues in the same way as Molly had. Joshua's parents had recently separated and his father had custody of him. Joshua, however, found the divorce challenging to accept and he believed his mother had betrayed him. Joshua started working in a warehouse in 2016 and speaking to co-workers about his past love life, it wasn't so great. On July 31st, 2016, he and Molly found one another on Tinder and began talking regularly. Joshua, who was 24 at the time, opened up to Molly about his mental health, including his struggles with anxiety, depression, and bipolar disorder. He told Molly that he shared her passion for exercise, especially as a coping mechanism for what he had gone through. With such parallels, the two felt a connection, and in November 2016, they both made the decision to meet in person. As time went on, the two became closer and would talk all night. Molly eventually told her friends that she was having feelings for Joshua. It seemed Joshua was never interested in getting to know Molly's friends or family, so naturally, they felt a little on edge whenever they were around him. Despite this, the two were happy. However, Joshua was getting quite attached to Molly, maybe even too attached. He was seen to be requiring too much time and effort from Molly, which worried her parents greatly. When he showed up at Molly's house, Joshua would always demand her full attention. If they weren't together, they were constantly messaging one another. Joshua kept his bipolar disorder a secret from everyone since it turned out it was not even true. He had made up the diagnosis to get Molly's attention and sympathy. This was a tool that Joshua used when Molly made plans with her friends. Everywhere that Molly went, he insisted on going along. He became so enamored with Molly that he decided to leave his job in order to devote more time to her. Molly soon reached a breaking point. Joshua was excessively possessive and demanding, to the point where Molly decided to break up with him when he unexpectedly showed up at her place one day. However, she had no idea what was in store for her. Joshua absolutely changed after hearing what Molly said, and he urged Molly to change her mind, insisting that they could make it work. He begged her to come back and swore to do whatever it took to get her back. In addition to this, though, he told Molly that she was perceiving things wrong, and he manipulated Molly into believing that she had all of these preconceived false ideas. Molly finally took him back after all the effective gaslighting, unaware that she had put herself into further trouble. Even Joshua's co-workers at the IT business where he worked noted that Joshua had two sides to him. One side was very well behaved, but the other side was very dark. Molly was prepared to break things off with Joshua, but wanted to give him one last shot. The pair had a holiday plan in Tenerife, and despite her parents' advice to stay home, Molly went because she believed that they could work out their differences. However, it turned out to be a huge mistake. On the first day of their trip, she messaged her parents expressing her regret about going. Molly confided in her mother after the trip that she had changed her mind about staying with Joshua and was waiting for the perfect moment to tell him. But that day came sooner than expected. On June 17, 2017, Molly made plans to hang out with her friends. But of course, Joshua showed up too. So Molly broke up with Josh right then and there. Joshua then became irate and yelled at Molly's friends, shocking them with this frightening side of him. The story didn't end there. Joshua begged Molly to accept him back, but she refused. She then blocked Joshua from all social media. Joshua, though, turned hostile and posted screenshots of Molly's messages online, tagging her friends so they could see them. He accused her of drug abuse and lying to her family. Molly was terrified when she discovered these posts from her cousin. So on June 22nd, Molly and her mother printed out the social media reports and brought them to the Kent police, where a police officer phoned Joshua and ordered him to delete all the posts. However, Joshua continued to insist that he had done nothing illegal. All of a sudden, Joshua said, "If you believe I've finished, there's more to come." The police informed Molly that what Joshua had done was not a pattern of harassment and did not amount to a crime despite all the complaints and visits. Joshua, however, went to the police the following day on June 23rd to lodge a complaint against Molly. He claimed that she had been circulating rumors about him having issues with the police, which had a negative impact on his reputation at work. The police instructed him to break off communication with Molly and remove all the insulting posts. Molly learned from the police on June 27th that Joshua had taken down all the offensive posts. He did not do this because he was finally ready to move on, though, but because he was preparing for something huge. Joshua began gathering materials and went to the hardware shop to purchase a knife and a pickaxe. Moreover, he discovered a means to stalk Molly. He went on a date with a new woman he had met on Tinder, and he was able to convince her to add his friend Molly to her social media account. Through his date, he kept himself informed about Molly. When Molly planned to go out with her friends one day, she posted a Snapchat photo about ships and trade, alluding to the place they were attending that evening. However, when she arrived, her face went white as if she had seen a ghost. Joshua was there with his Tinder date. Molly assured her friends that nothing was wrong and quickly left. That was the last time she ever saw her friends. The following morning, Molly was working out at her gym when suddenly Joshua showed up. He quickly checked inside the room she was in before entering, left, then returned more assuredly. He started working out after entering the room. When Molly approached him and questioned whether or not he was following her and her whereabouts, Joshua responded that it was none of her concern. Molly then left the room and texted her mother and friends, sending them a photo of Joshua. All of them told her to go home immediately. Then Molly got her stuff and made her way to the car. Joshua also left the gym and waited for Molly in the parking lot. When she finally got to her car and settled in, Joshua suddenly appeared and started walking towards her car, brandishing a knife. Then, as Molly looked up, she noticed Joshua approaching her car. She had no chance of escape as Joshua opened the driver's seat door and began stabbing Molly. He continued to stab her until he was sure she was dead. He waited there for the police, and when they arrived, he stated, "It's me you're looking for. She has died." Molly was declared dead despite the medical team's best efforts to rescue her. Molly suffered a total of 75 stab wounds. The police then told Molly's mother and friends. They couldn't believe it because as far as they knew, Molly was supposed to have been on her way home, but she never did arrive. Joshua was not immediately detained since the faculty believed he had committed the crime due to a personality disorder. Personality disorder was considered to have decreased responsibility under UK law. One psychologist diagnosed Joshua with a severe personality disorder, while the other said he was hypersensitive to people leaving him. Joshua was found guilty of murder by the judges, following a thorough investigation and hearing from both psychiatrists. According to Philip Joseph, one of the psychiatrists, Joshua showed no signs of a mental condition that might be used to hold him responsible for his acts. He was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum time of 26 years. Joshua didn't have a personality disorder. Instead, he had a problem with women. He was an antisocial narcissist who could not fathom the idea of being rejected and therefore sought revenge on anyone who tried to leave him. The family discovered after the trial that Joshua had done something similar with two of his dates in the past, where he would obsessively stalk them and try to control them, then become infuriated when they would try to leave him. Fortunately for these two girls, they managed to flee. Molly was not so lucky. Since this tragedy, police are now required to document any incident of stalking as a crime.